special guest again that everybody's pretty hopefully used to seeing by now. I mean, you've been on a bunch of times. And she's going to be here in this video today for a couple of reasons. One is because I wanted to do kind of a lighthearted video. I'm trying to do more lighthearted, positive videos lately because the world's kind of the opposite of lighthearted and positive right now, and I think we could all use a little break and some escapism. So I've seen a ton of people do the relationship tag that goes around on YouTube, but I was getting kind of bored of just that, and we couldn't answer everything exactly like everybody else because one of us is able-bodied and one of us isn't. So what I did instead was I took questions from the relationship tag and I also took some from the disability tag, and I kind of squished them into one thing. So I'm going to be asking her some questions and answering them myself related to basically being in a relationship with someone who is disabled and has chronic pain and stuff. And then at the end of the video we're going to be making a really exciting announcement for everybody, so hopefully everyone sticks around for that. So are you ready for your questions? So the first question is, how did we meet and what was your first impression of the fact that you saw that I was disabled when you met me?
My first impression of you?
Well, and how we met.
On how we
Yeah,
met?
let's start with how we met.
So we met because one of our other friends invited you to a convention that was near Comic-Con. And I had never met you, or my other friend had never met you, so it was just kind of like, oh, another person's coming along, okay, great. And then it was just you getting off the subway.
Yeah, technically the first time you met me in person wasn't probably the best impression because, for anyone who doesn't know, the girl who had invited me to New York Comic Con with her and her friend, she basically made me keep getting on trains. I'd already been on a bus for like 8 hours, which is not great for a person with chronic pain to begin with. You need like a full day's break after that. And then I was told we'd be going to her friend's house so I could drop off my like 45-pound bag that I was toting with me, and so I could get some rest. But first she was like, oh, come to the Newark, New Jersey station. I did, and I waited there for like an hour, and then she was like, oh, now get on another train and come to New York instead, because I decided I don't want to stop. I want us to just go straight to the con. And I was like, well, I have a 45-pound bag with me. I can't lug this around, and I didn't have tickets. Basically, they were going to go to Comic-Con, and then they were going to come out, and we were going to hang out in New York together. That's what I was there for. So by the time I got to New York, I had actually had a seizure and passed out on the train because I was so exhausted, and I knew that would happen. So you came up to me, and I had this poor New York lawyer holding me up because I could barely stand on my own and being like, yeah, your friend here passed on the train. You need to take better care of them. And I felt so bad because I was like, oh crap, these people just met me and they're getting flamed by a lawyer right now.
Yeah, so basically I was upset at the other friend because this happened, because we weren't told anything of how you're getting there. We just said that you're gonna meet up with us, and you had your luggage and stuff. So long story short, it was just really bad miscommunication with that said friend, but
yeah,
luckily throughout the whole weekend, I just bonded with you pretty much, with just being like, why are you just leaving this person out here?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, when you first saw me, first said hello, you already had to deal with the fact that I was disabled because I was barely conscious, and then that whole week you were dealing with the fact that I'm clearly, physically disabled. You can see it upon meeting me and stuff. So what did you think of that? Was that something that was new for you in terms of friends, or was it something that you had an easy time adjusting to?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like it because something I liked about her, where I ended up wanting to hang out more with her than the other two, was the fact that at no point during the entire trip did you make me feel like I was a burden on anyone, like I was holding anyone back, like I was, unable to do anything. If there was something that I was having trouble with, you just kind of walked up and helped, and you didn't do it in like a condescending way or anything. It was just, oh, I see this person needs help, so I'm going to help them, which is typically all people want. And you didn't force yourself on me either. Like, if you weren't sure, you would ask me, like, do you need help?
Mm-hmm. No, I just did it as like, do you need help with something? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need me to help you get something? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I am with anybody.
Yeah,
But
and it's just kind of refreshing for a disabled person to encounter someone like that, especially upon first meeting, that you're not just the mobility device, that you are you, and you just happen to need a little extra help here and there. So the next question, in reference to our relationship as a whole, so whether we're just staying at home relaxing or we're going out someplace, whether it's on a date to get groceries, whatever, how does my disability impact you?
It doesn't really impact me. I just have to be looking out for you. Because you pretty much do everything yourself. I just get you your chair. Because
that's a little tricky, because mine is a mobility scooter. In case anyone wondered, they're a lot heavier than the lightweight manual chairs.
Even before that, we had the manual one, and I still like pushed you around. And if we didn't have one of those on hand, I went to go get it at the grocery store. I even like drove the little electric scooters for her to be on, so it's just something that I just did anyway. But mostly it's just making sure that I have like all of our stuff for her. I have like her pain meds in the car. I have her chair ready and charged, and just making sure that she's okay. I'm not really impacted at all. That's what I do. That's
the only time I think I personally see it impacting you, it's not you yourself, it's the people around us. Like when we're in a grocery store and people are being really nasty to me for no reason, when people are trying to push me to tell them why I'm using a wheelchair and I don't want to talk about it and they get like pissy about it, or when people that you know personally, like friends and family, decide they're going to have some kind of issue with it, or decide that I must just be with you to like get your money or something, like that's when I see it impacting you.
There are a lot of people that I think honestly every single person out there should have to go through helping somebody that's been disabled to understand that when you see little kids, when you see older people, you're more likely to be sympathetic and watch how you're walking around. But when it's someone clearly, like, at first glance, you look like you might not need it. And I think that's because of your makeup and stuff, but that's because you don't want to look sick.
Yeah.
Or deathly, or anything like that. And I think that's where a lot of people are just like, well, why does she need this and stuff?
Yeah, because you don't see like leg braces on me or something, and I can go a couple steps if I have to, but it's very painful, it's very difficult with my balance issues and stuff for me to do things like that. And people seem to think that, oh, if you're in a chair, you must have to have paralyzed legs, but honestly a majority of people in wheelchairs are not in any way paralyzed, or they're only partially paralyzed in their legs, and it's more to do with pain or balance issues or spinal issues and things like that. Like a lot of people could, if they had to in an extreme emergency, use crutches if they needed to, but it just makes your life so much easier to be able to use the chair. And that's where, like, I wish that more people understood that, the fact that if they look at you and go, well, you look fine to me, why are you in it? Like, one, you don't know what that person's gone through, so you don't really have any right to say something like that. And two, just remember that there's a bazillion reasons someone could be in one, and frankly, it isn't your business why that person's in one.
Yeah, you don't want to go to a kid that's in a wheelchair and be like, why are you in a wheelchair?
Mm-hmm. The way I usually compare it is you demanding to know why someone is in a wheelchair is akin to you going up to someone coming out of the OBGYN and being like, so how did your vag ultrasound go today? Like, it's obnoxious. Don't ask that stuff. And for some people, like for me, it's kind of triggering depending on the day for me to talk about it. My reasons for being in it have a lot to do with reproduction stuff and everything, and it's not something I feel like discussing with people.
Yeah. So. And you shouldn't have to. People are just nosy, and the one thing that bugs me the most is standing and getting our stuff at self-checkouts when I'm obviously helping you, and then there's people behind us that are going like, come on, like, you're
oh yeah, they like
slow.
say nasty stuff and everything, and they'll get so close that they can clearly see when I put my PIN number in, and I'm like, if you want us to hurry along, get away from me because I'm not putting in my PIN number next to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're just nasty about it because, like, my arms shake really bad, too. That's part of why I don't use a manual chair anymore and I have the power chair, is because I get pain and weakness in my arms and hands as well. And as a result of that, sometimes I can get in and out of the self-checkout really quickly, and sometimes I'm just like, it's gonna take a minute. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you just see, once you go through with helping somebody, you really see how real people are, and it's scary. Mm-hmm. It's not okay. It's really not.
Honestly, that was going to be a topic, and you're more than welcome to be part of it, that I was going to do for my next video, which is the good and the bad of being in a wheelchair, like the best and worst parts of it. And unfortunately, most of the worst parts are people around you. Like, you really don't realize how ugly humanity can be until you're physically disabled, and visibly so that people can see it because of how awful they are to you and how inaccessible things are. That's, I'm sure, another way my disability impacts you in some way. The fact that we'll be like, okay, let's finally go out and have a date. We've been working really hard. Let's go do something that's just for us. And how many times have we gone out for a date and we're like, oh, guess we have to go back home because this isn't accessible. You can't get up a flight of stairs or something, or you can't utilize this sidewalk because it's really uneven and they haven't bothered to fix it. Mm-hmm. Or you just can't get through the door or something. Like, there's literally no excuse in the year 2020 for any public building to not be accessible, because all you need is a small outdoor chairlift or a small outdoor elevator, and possibly an indoor chairlift if you have another flight of stairs inside. If you, a small business, are unable to access that on your own, all you have to do is have like a donation-only pancake breakfast and explain the proceeds of this are going towards the fact that we want our building to be more accessible. People will come and support that. They want to help. It will make them feel good. Just try. I think the problem is just people don't want to put the effort in. But I know that's another way that impacts us too.
Also permits. So like, we're in a Victorian town. I mean, that shouldn't matter, but it's a lot of, you have to get clearances and stuff, and like what is able to be worked on for that kind of thing, and they're old buildings, so it's a lot harder.
The thing is, though, like, if it's just a stair lift and not an elevator, you're not really going to be damaging that much. It's like 4 screws in the wall, and that's it. You can patch that over later if you have to. It's not going to damage the integrity of the building to put a stair lift in. Like, there's no reason that should be a problem. Like, I had the opposite happen at the old school I used to go to. The reason the school got torn down and couldn't be functional anymore is because it was inaccessible. It was an old building, and they were like, your doors aren't wide enough to accommodate a wheelchair. If you want to continue as a functional school, you need to become accessible, and they decided it was too expensive, so they just closed it down. But again, like, in terms of the expense, people will help you if you try. They never once tried to do any kind of benefits. They were right next to a church. Ask the church for help. people will help you. So that's definitely, I think, probably one of the biggest way it impacts us. So the next question is, are you a morning or a night person? And I know that you are a morning person. You're always up at the crack of dawn, but I tend to be more of a night person because of painsomnia. And why don't you kind of tell them how that sometimes sort of impacts you, not in a bad way. Like, she's always really good about when stuff like that happens to me, but I know you worry sometimes when the pain
I
insomnia
worry
hits.
when I start feeling you move so much. And if I even have like headphones on to like fall asleep, and sometimes in like around the time that I start waking up, it's around like 5-6 o'clock in the morning, I feel you like just shaking a whole lot. You either just move a whole lot, or you just what is that?
A giant spider.
Holy hell, that's huge.
Yeah, that's a big ass spider over there.
That was freaking huge. I've never seen a spider that big.
Yeah. Okay. So you were saying that you feel like me shaking and stuff at 5 in the morning, and it worries you?
Yes. And
during cons, it's probably worrisome because sometimes I can't sleep at all for a whole night. Sometimes up to like twice a week, I will pull an all-nighter where I don't sleep at all because I just am not comfortable enough to. And like, we've tried all the pain medicines, none of them hit well enough. And sometimes if I've stayed up all night, or I've stayed up until like 4 or 5 in the morning during a convention, we have to wake up at 7 in the morning, and I just have to be okay the whole day and act like nothing is wrong while selling stuff.
yeah, I just let you sleep afterwards, because whenever I get up and you don't wake up until like close to noon, I just like let you sleep, because that's just your body telling you that you need to rest. So I just get up and just do my normal thing, and that's pretty much it. Like, I just try to make sure you're okay, and then when you text me that you need stuff, I bring up your insurance so you can have stuff. If you need to be in bed all day, I'll just bring your computer and all that stuff up so you wouldn't have to go downstairs a whole bunch.
Yeah, we actually just got one of those Serta futons so that the days that I want to get work done but I need to be horizontal, I can now from downstairs. Alright, so this kind of goes hand in hand with one of the earlier questions, but it's a little bit different. What is the most difficult part of my disability for you? This can be emotional stuff, it can be physical stuff you see, whatever, it doesn't matter, just whatever the most difficult part is for you.
The most difficult part for me is to see you in pain and I can't do anything about it. Because there isn't anything that can really be done. Because it's just, I think that's like the worst, is just seeing you not being able to do a whole lot. But you still do things that normal people do. It just takes you, you can't do them every single day.
Yeah, or as fast. It'll just take me a little bit longer to get things done, and I just need people to be patient. I'll be like, I'm sorry guys, I can't do the dishes for a couple days. I'm in too much pain or something. And what frustrates me in those situations is if you're in an environment where someone else doesn't get that, and it's just like, well, just do it now and then you don't have to worry, and it's like, that's just not how it works.
Yeah, and I just try to make sure that I just tell you how much you're doing things really well, and you keep doing all your artwork and stuff, and that's all you can really ask for. That's the most difficult part, is just seeing that I can't do anything.
And
to
I kind
stop
of
it.
Yeah, I kind of luck out there where a lot of people don't. If you're an able-bodied person who is in a relationship with someone who is disabled, make sure you remember to like give that person a little praise here and there for what they're doing, because even if it seems like something mundane like doing the laundry, that's a lot for that person. It's really painful. It's really difficult to do even the most basic things sometimes.
Like the other day
it's
when
nice.
I was out, you did the coffee table.
Yeah. I'll just try to do little things here and there, but like something that is really easy and like a 5-minute task for an able-bodied person can take me like an hour or more sometimes and knock me out for the rest of the day. So it's just nice to sometimes hear, I appreciate that you did that thing today. So the next one is funny. It's who does more housework?
Who does more housework?
Yeah.
I think it's a split.
It kind of is a split because I want to feel, for lack of a better word, useful. I want to feel like I'm contributing to the household in any way that I can, but I'm also aware of the fact that I need help and it's okay for me to ask the people around me for help. I'll be like, okay, I can maybe do the sweeping because I can do that from like a seated position if you have like a Swiffer or something, and the mopping, but I need someone else to do the dishes. Or I can put the laundry in, but someone else needs to take it up, fold it, and put it away. So it's kind of like this perfect in tandem teamwork type thing, I think. So that's the other thing. Just keep in mind that your disabled partner may be able to do like half of a task, but you're going to have to pick up the slack for the other half.
Yep.
And just be the kind of person that the disabled partner isn't afraid to ask help from. Like, don't sound annoyed or anything. I know sometimes you're tired and you don't want to do that thing, but we feel worse knowing that us asking you for help with something annoyed you. So just get it done and over with. This next one is one I actually came up with myself, and I think it's going to be interesting because there's a chance we might have completely different answers for it, and that anyone who asks this question in the future might have different answers. If a miracle cure came out that would make it so I was no longer disabled in any way, do you think that I would take it or that I should take it?
I think you would.
How come?
Because I don't. Because I don't. I think you would, because you would want to be able to do conventions. You would want to be able to do things that you wouldn't be able to do. You would actually be able to, like, have a lot more fun. You can, like, stay out more. You can actually do things. Because whenever you can't, you like, beat yourself up.
Yeah. And a lot of that is just because of how other people react to it. They'll be like, oh, sorry guys, it turns out I can't go out to the movies, or I can't go out, partying or something tonight because I'm in too much pain. And it's the way that people react to it more than anything that gets to me, because it makes me feel like I'm destroying everyone else's fun.
But the most important thing is that I think you would, because of how successful we've been getting with our projects. And that you will want to be able to travel long distances to be able to go to all these places.
My answer is not exactly the same as that, which is what I kind of figured, and that's why I think this kind of question is really important for, interabled couples and stuff, because when I'm in a lot of pain and no medicine is touching it, even going to the hospital isn't touching it, yeah, I hit points where I'm at an all-time low and I'm like, well, I really wish that there was something that could give me some form of relief so I'm not in as much pain right now. But at the same time, me being disabled, me being a wheelchair user, and the fact that I have dealt with my chronic pain and some form of disability pretty much my entire life, we just didn't realize what they were until, my adult life, I think that's the reason I am who I am. As a child, knowing that I was different and then seeing other kids who were different, not necessarily disabled, just different in any way, I was automatically kinder to them because I understood what it was like for people to just not bother trying to understand what I was going through. And I used to be like a huge workaholic in an office setting where I couldn't get any writing done, no art done, nothing like that, because all that mattered to me was collecting that paycheck and stuff. And once my health took a downward spiral, I wasn't able to work a normal 9-to-5 job anymore, so I did have more time to work on the things that actually make me happy and give my life some form of purpose. So as hard as it is and as painful as it is, I don't know that I would, honestly. Like, I think that it's given me as many gifts as it has hardships. And I don't think that I would be me without it anymore. And I don't even know what I would do. Like, I'm so used to having it now that I don't know if I would know how to function as a regular person. And like, say that this was a miracle cure that was rolled out to the masses and you completely wiped disability off the planet. At face value, that sounds like a wonderful thing, but how bad would it be for the world as a whole if you just slowly phased out everything that made people a little bit different? It's kind of sad. So like, I understand definitely where you're coming from, and like sometimes, yeah, if there was just something that would get rid of the pain, absolutely. But in terms of like the disability itself, I think I'd keep it just because it's me. What's your favorite thing about me?
That, what you just said.
The last part? Mm-hmm. About like we need to have people who are different in this world and stuff, or I have a different philosophy on life, but again, that just comes with the fact that I had to grow and adapt in a different way than other people. And my favorite thing about you is something I know can be really hard for you sometimes, but again, it's just as much a good thing as it can be a bad thing, which is the fact that your heart's an open door all the time. And you're always happy to help somebody who needs you at the time. And yeah, sometimes people take advantage of that. People take advantage of kind people sometimes, and sometimes it can ruin kind people, but you've never let it ruin you. Even when people are awful and treat you terribly after you try to help them, you still keep trying to help people. And I think that's amazing, because most people would just say, well, one person screwed me over, so whatever, I'm just not going to let anyone in anymore. And you haven't let it make you this jaded, closed-off person. Next is, what made you fall in love with me? Because that's definitely not what we expected. We kind of, after that New York trip, we just kept talking online a lot. And, are you good?
Something like smack me in the face.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
After the New York trip, we just kept talking to each other online a lot on a regular basis, and that turned into calling every single night and starting to work on graphic novels together from, different states and everything. We were 8 hours away at the time. And it started out as just like, oh, this person's really cool. And it's like, one day both of us were just like, oh, geez, I don't think this is just a friend thing. And we never actually formally asked each other out. We sent each other like cutesy gifts and just were like, oh, I guess we're a thing now. Like, no one formally asked the other person. But what is it that made you realize, I think that this person isn't just a friend anymore? I think, like, I want more from this.
I think it's because we kind of did it backwards than most people. We met each other at a convention, and then we just got to know each other more on the internet. Mm-hmm. And we actually would stay up into the wee hours of the morning just talking about the projects that we were working on, just talking about anything. We would even start watching movies that both of us liked and just call each other pretty much every single night. So I think it was just getting to know you as a person is what did it.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. It was the fact that once we reached a certain point in our friendship where we had a lot of trust in each other, because trust doesn't come easy for either of us because of some stuff that we've gone through in the past, it was like one day it really hit me that this person has only known me like 5 months or so, and they're telling me these things that most people would have trouble even talking to a spouse about, and that just meant so much to me, and I felt like I could tell you anything. Like, I told you things even my family doesn't know, even my best friend doesn't know, because I knew that telling you wouldn't make you think of me any differently than you already did. And it's really special when you find someone like that. And then again, just kind of treading backwards a bit, the fact that you never made the disability side of me like the central focus, but you also like rewrite. You had characters you created back in middle school. You completely rewrote them to incorporate disabilities as a normality in the story. Not like, oh, look at the poor character in the wheelchair. Like, she's a normal person, she's a functional person, she helps the group as much as anyone else. And that was the first time I'd seen someone willing to do something like that. So there was like a lot of stuff like that that made me feel that way. And that's really the end of the questioning. So I hope everyone enjoyed this little relationship Q&A. It's a little bit different than the other ones out there. And before we completely wrap up the video, we have our fun announcement.
Yeah!
Get in frame and talk about it, lady. So we're working on 2 new projects right now. We're still working actively on Firesphere because that's always going to be where Firesphere Media began and ended. And by the way, follow us as Firesphere Media on Facebook. We do a lot of fun stuff on there all the time, including we're going to have a Halloween stream on Halloween from 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time until whenever people feel like leaving. So that's going to be fun. There's going to be commissions you can get in the moment. You can just be like, oh, draw me, Robin Hood or something, and she'll be sitting there sketching it. Just really fun time, lots of activities. And then we're taking a teeny tiny temporary break from Firesphere to work on 2 really cool new books. We're doing our rendition of a retelling of Faust. Do you want to talk a little bit about that one?
Faust is going to be reimagined with a female lead as Faust. She's basically going to be a constable, and she is still going to be dealing with Mephistopheles or Mephisto.
And Marguerite and everybody.
Marguerite is going to still be in there, so it's going to be an LGBT storyline. And it's going to be steampunk / Victorian era, so it's going to have little bits and pieces from each.
Yep,
portion.
And our synopsis we have so far that's available on Instagram, right? And on Facebook right now is, what would you do if in the most desperate and agonizing moments of your life a single poorly thought out sentence caused you to make a deal with the cunning Mephistopheles? Faust is a generous and strong-willed woman until a series of harrowing events cause her to lose her grip on her soul. Now she must do her best to complete her goal of stopping the king from his outrageous tax increase on the poor, assisting the citizens of Rosé-Seorsum as their constable, and protecting the innocent Marguerite from harm with the ever-present threat of immortality in hell ahead of her. So it's kind of a new idea, like a new take on an old story of she is actually a good person and she's trying to do good things, but all while she's trying to be a good person, she realizes, what's the point? I'm going to hell anyway. Like, this is really hard.
Yep.
So it's this big internal conflict she has, and yeah, it's very steampunk inspired, so it's a little bit different from our normal style. It's gonna be really fun.
And we're going to be doing multiple volumes of this as well. It's not going to be as long as Firesphere, but we're going to be doing these issues relatively back to back for a while, because we just feel like these projects need to be told.
Yeah.
And then Firesphere will be put back on in a year or so. Because we just want to focus on something new, and these ones are just going to get people even like more amped up and prepared for when Firesphere becomes even bigger within by 2022.
Yeah. And we're hoping to pitch these to like Image or Dark Horse too, so any support will be greatly appreciated. It's going to be available in December of 2020, and we will have it in the form of ebooks or printed copies. They're going to be pretty cheap either way because it's only going to be around 60 pages, so it is comic book length.
Even though that it's going to be, we're trying to pitch it, we're still going to have like self-publishing. Like no matter what, if it doesn't get picked up, we're still just going to have volumes available anyway, so... Right,
And
next
what's
one
yeah,
is
what's the
yours.
other one? The other one is we're doing our take on Hunchback, or as it was actually known over there, Notre Dame of Paris, where we're putting the cathedral itself as more of a forefront. The cathedral, the way I explained it to her, is the cathedral's a character. It's a building, but with each scene, it's going to look different depending on the mood of the character that's inside the building at the time. So at the beginning, it looks really frightening and imposing because we're opening actually on the villain. We're opening on Frollo, where he's kind of having a moment where he's terrified. Like, we're kind of making him more sympathetic, like he is in the original novel, because he wasn't quite as villainous as Disney made him out to be. He's still not a good person, but it's because he's tormented by his own religious beliefs. So basically we're opening right up on him just like praying so hard he's bleeding because he's got his fingers shoved so far into his knuckles and stuff, and he's like just having a horrible time because he thinks that no matter what he does, he's still just going to be doomed. He can never be pure and good enough. So he's going to have a lot more layers to him. And then we are working on Esmeralda is kind of going to be a mix of her book character and our own ideas, because she doesn't have quite as many layers as I wish she did in the book. So we're kind of compiling traits from a bunch of different ones. Mm-hmm. And then we've also decided to give her 3 brothers instead of just the one. So that's going to be interesting. So when Pierre first follows her to the Court of Miracles, we have it so she's like bent over and she's just like asking the brother to let her up, and he's just like, what's the password and stuff, and she has to like come up with this crazy password to get down there. She's like, really? Your own sister? So you'll get to see her in her family environment and how much they love each other. There's gonna be a lot of drama happening when it comes to things like the war at the end of the story. It's another multi-volume one too. Like, there's no way we can put this into one volume, so this one's going to go on for a while as well. And another interesting thing is we're doing a lot more with backgrounds than we have with Fire Sphere. Everything in the backgrounds is going to be completely deliberate. So like, again, at the beginning scene when he feels like his religion's closing in on him, the walls are going to look super tiny, like it can barely fit and stuff, because that's what he's feeling. So there's going to be a lot of cool stuff to pay attention to. So if you or someone you know loves anything Hunchback related, like I do, again, we're going to be putting up the cover of that book in the next couple of days once I've finished the Rose window, because it takes forever. And then that will also be available in December of 2020, again as an ebook and a printed book. So we'd really appreciate if you guys followed Fire Sphere Media on Facebook or checked us out at firesphere.org. And we'd appreciate it if you just took a look at them. We'll have book previews available on the website come December, so you can decide whether or not you like the style or not. And just thank you so much for being here. It's always fun to have somebody else on my channel.
We'll have multiple volumes of that one too.
Yeah, I mentioned that. Okay. But yeah, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate how nice you guys are when you are here. And this was a really fun, laid-back video, and we will see all of you again pretty soon. So remember to do something that makes you happy today, no matter what anybody else thinks about it. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.